Hey, what's up? This video is going to be breaking down the Nebraska at Wisconsin game, so let's get into it. Alrighty, first of all, I couldn't find like the full game tape online anywhere, so I had to kind of, grab as many highlights as I could. So unfortunately, I don't have the full game tape to go over. There was some things I wanted to show, like Nebraska was driving, and there was a critical face masking call that didn't get called against Wisconsin. Which probably would have given Nebraska a touchdown. It would have gave them, first and goal. Nebraska only ends up getting a field goal, so that was a big swing in the momentum of the game when that didn't get called. But again, Nebraska had way more penalties than the opposition, which really hurt. But yeah, I'll kind of break down these highlights here, and then I will go over kind of the score and some analysis and what all of it means for the rest of the season, and if I thought it was a good game or a bad game, etc., etc. So let's just start breaking down this tape here. Look at the blocking by the offensive line. It was much better this game. This is the best the offensive line did from a pass blocking standpoint this entire year. Martinez needs to have more recognition on these plays. He's holding on to the ball way too long. You're coming to the short side of the field. You've got a defender coming free. This ball needs to... You're out of the pocket. You can throw it away for free. It's only 2nd and 7. We can't take a sack here and get into 3rd and 15. We just can't do it. He needs to have a more awareness of the internal clock and the game situation and get rid of this ball and live to fight on 3rd and 7. But he kind of tries to make a play, and he's just so bottled up here. He needs to get rid of this ball. But Wisconsin ends up converging for the sack. Look at this pass blocking. Look at the pass blocking by the offensive line. Look at that pocket. Martinez doesn't have anybody within 3 yards of him. That's what it's supposed to look like. So, good job by the offensive line and pass pro this game.
Martinez with all day to throw. Spielman open over the middle, and Spielman is off to the races. Nobody's gonna catch.
Spielman had over 200 yards receiving. Had quite the day. Okay, on this play, this is one of the touchdowns. First of all, I would like to see this guy set the edge a little bit better with more authority. There was a little bit too much of a gap there. If he sets that edge harder, this gap doesn't exist, and he might have to bounce it outside and would give him time to get over here and make the play. But that doesn't happen. And on this play right here, there's a holding call that should have brought this play back, in my opinion, but it doesn't get called, and it's a touchdown for Wisconsin. Because this is DiCaprio Boodle. He can't lose contain here, and he knows it, and he's trying to get outside, but he's being held. See him getting held right there? But what can you do? On this play, Dedrick Young is right here, and he kind of plays this too flat-footed. You've got to be kind of slowly getting momentum coming forward and then bursting in and making this play. He kind of stays flat-footed, and then when he has to turn and go in this direction, he kind of seems to have a lack of intensity and doesn't really go full speed. So just kind of watch that on this play. See, he's flat-footed, and then he just kind of jogs over, and he scores. I think he could have had a little bit more intensity on that play, and that was the main problem on that one. Look at the blocking by the offensive line again. Very, very nice pocket. And that's just a great... That's just a quarterback and a tight end making a play. And this is the play that really kind of iced the game. If Nebraska gets the ball back and scores, it's 34-24 with like 9 minutes left, and there's a chance. But DiCaprio Boodle is, you know, one of the bright spots on this team this year, but this was probably his worst play of the year. You know, the running back's going to kind of break through, come over here, and Boodle is going to try to tackle him too high, and he just gets stiff-armed, and the running back's gone. He needs to, you know, wrap up, get the hips, or at least the legs. You can't just come straight up against a good running back and expect to make the play. So this is a coachable moment for Boodle here, because this is kind of what Frost was talking about. The difference between a great running back and a good running back is those 10-yard gains, instead of being 10-yard gains, become touchdowns. And that's what Jonathan Taylor does here. You know, if Boodle makes this play, yeah, it's a good play. It's a 10-yard gain, but it's not an 85-yard touchdown. And, you know, right here he gets slowed down, and Boodle needs to come low and wrap up his legs. But he comes in high, and stiff arm gone. And that was really the play that let the air out of the balloon. That was kind of the end right there. Another great job of the offensive line. I can't really tell if it's a bad performance by Wisconsin's defensive line or really good pass protection by Nebraska's offensive line. I think it was a little bit of both, but definitely encouraging to see the O-line protect like this on passes. And there's no way that guy's going to make that play in the open field on Martinez. And again, Martinez likes to do these kind of like fake slides where he kind of slows down and acts like he's going to slide, and then he takes off. And he tries to do it there, but he gets his legs taken away. And this number 14 for Wisconsin is one of their best defenders. So, you know, the design of this play is, you know, you're going to make that read. If you keep it, you're probably going to have to beat somebody one-on-one. And Martinez does on this play. This was a good job to get in the end zone. Alrighty, so that was kind of everything that I was able to go over for this video. Now I'm going to kind of look at the stats and give my reaction on what all of it means. Alrighty, so the final score ended up at 41-24. Wisconsin wins, which in my last video previewing this game, I actually nailed it. I got both teams down to the exact point. I predicted 41-24, and it was 41-24, so, you know, that's always interesting when that happens. But, you know, Hornibrook, you know, I said I didn't expect him to have a great game. I don't think he's that great of a thrower of the football. He's just kind of there to manage the game and not do anything stupid, which is basically what he did. You know, 6.8 average on defense, you know, allowing their quarterback to have. That's good enough to win the game. Allowing 163 in the passing game at 13-24. That's good enough to win the game. The problem for Nebraska was 9.2 for Jonathan Taylor. And a long of 88 means they also gave up a big play. You can't allow a team to average 7.7 yards rushing and rush for 370 if you want to win games on the road. You just can't do that. So that was kind of the main issue for Nebraska. In the rushing game, you know, Azigbo again was 5.8 average, which is good. But the main highlight was J.D. Spielman. Oh, it got big on me here. Let me switch that. So yeah, the big highlight here was J.D. Spielman. 9 receptions for 209, averaging 23 and a long of 75. J.D. Spielman's only a sophomore. He's going to be a special player at Nebraska, and if he stays all 4 years, he's going to end up setting some receiving records that are going to be tough to beat, in my opinion. You know, Adrian Martinez was pretty solid. 9.1 average throwing the ball is great for a true freshman on the road, and no interceptions. I don't know how his QBR was so low at 43.3, probably because of the sacks that he took, if I had to guess. But with those kind of throwing numbers, that's going to be good enough to win a lot of games at Nebraska if we can start eliminating some of these penalties and stuff, which is what I'm going to kind of go over next. When we pull up the team stats, we've got a couple things to go over here. Third down efficiency, it's tough to win games when you allow 50% third down conversions and you only have 30% yourself. But the main problem, again, is 5 more penalties than your opponent. And, you know, penalties, a lot of them are basically turnovers because, you take a drive that's rolling, get a holding call, and boom, the drive's done. So you have to punt. Or you stop them on third down and then you commit a penalty, so you were going to get the ball, but instead they get a first down. So, 5 extra penalties, that equates to like an extra 1 or 2 turnovers, basically. So, this has to stop. Like, Nebraska has to finish a game with less penalties than their opponent, especially if you want to beat a team on the road like Wisconsin. You just can't have that, and we all know that, but it happened again, which is unfortunate. There's a big advantage in the passing game, 9.3 to 6.8. That's great, but a big deficit in the rushing game at 4.6 to 7.7. So, yeah, that's, kind of everything that's worth covering stats-wise. Nebraska's offense put up a lot of yards, but didn't score a lot of points, and the defense just got gashed in the running game too many times to hold the when Nebraska scores 24 points against Wisconsin, they should be in the game in the fourth quarter. Like, you can't give up 41 points to a running team like Wisconsin. You got to hold them under 30. So, defense was probably the main issue in this game. But as far as reacting to the game, I don't think it's a game that's bad for Nebraska. Obviously it's disappointing to be 0-5, but looking at it past the surface, preseason, this is not a game that any realistic Nebraska fan would have expected to win. You've got a true freshman quarterback in a brand new system going on the road to Madison at night, which is one of the most electrifying atmospheres in the Big Ten. If Nebraska were able to go on the road and get this win against a playoff caliber team at night, that would have been ridiculous. That would have been a huge upset. So the fact that Nebraska lost isn't really the concern here. I saw some strides in the positive direction. The offensive line blocked great in pass protection, and Adrian Martinez proved that he can go on the road in a tough environment and, had arguably his best day throwing the ball, no bad interceptions and a pretty good average yards per attempt. So that's a big time experience for a true freshman quarterback to get. And I don't see a team that's quitting. One other side note, DiCaprio Bootle had probably his worst game of the year, and he had been one of the brighter spots on the defense. And Dedrick Young did not have a good game against the run. Mo Berry didn't play as well as I would expect him to. He did make a couple plays, but the consistency wasn't really there. Luke Gifford actually took a step forward. I thought he had kind of been playing a little bit more poorly the last few games, but he stepped it up a little bit and played a little bit better this week. So, yeah, 0-5 is obviously disappointing, but I don't think this game in a vacuum was extremely disappointing. And, Nebraska is going to have to find a way to get less penalties than their opponent. And if they do, they're going to be in a lot of football games because they prove they can go on the road in a tough environment. And they should have competed with Wisconsin in this game, if not for the penalties and that one big run. So, yeah, anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.